Are we in a bubble? That is what a lot of people are talking about right now. You keep hearing the word bubble. It's a buzzword on CNBC lately. These hedge managers are saying it, and some of them get a little emotional. So that's what we're gonna do is we're gonna review this. Also, we're gonna go over some of the sales I made. Would you look at that? We finally hit that $15,000 mark in the traditional account, and up over 22 in the Roth. Remember, I will be consolidating these together, so eventually this will just be one account we're covering on the channel. And so we're going to cover some of the sales. If you look, it's getting thin. This was a list like down to here, and we're down to 2 stocks, about $5,000 in total market value, and have cashed up to nearly $10,000. Right. And some of y'all might be asking, like, well, what are you waiting for? Well, I'm waiting to see just exactly how hard this market will push. I hope I'm not looking back at this going, dang, whenever, SoFi's back down to $18 and it'll be too late to sell. All right. I'm suspecting, we'll just do a little quick analysis of this real quick. But if we're looking at it, you can see my sales are up here. I'm expecting us to hit up in around $28. I actually might move a couple of those down towards that 27 mark, and then a little bit bigger sales as we start to get over $30. We'll start liquidating those. So that is kind of my plan for SoFi. Fubu, I don't know what the plan is for Fubu. I think if SoFi hits its target, Fubu will just get sold. I've got these up here just in case the Disney deal goes through and boom, 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 right? Probably need to move one of those up a little higher. I don't know. So that's kind of the plan there. That ain't all though. We're going to cover some of these other stocks that I sold and what prices I sold them at. I've sold these over the last few weeks, but let's hop into this real quick. I just want to, I just want you guys to hear this.
Goldman today says the near-term gains may be limited, even though you get a couple of price target bumps for NVIDIA. Weiss, what do you want to say?
Mr. Steve Weiss. Y'all know I like to pick on Steve. Hey, I'm sure he's a good guy.
Yeah, I'd say, look, first of all, analysts like to talk long term, except comments like that, they're lagging, are sort of ridiculous. They're very short term. Stocks have had major moves. At some point, they got to rest. Now, let's go back to Sam Altman's comments where he said there may be a bubble here. Why would Sam say that? Sam would say that to keep money from going into competitors. I mean, valuations are lunacy, so he's right about that. But he doesn't want potential competitors to get funding. So that's part of it. Sarah Fryer straightened that out on CNBC last week, said, no, there's no bubble. It's growing extremely fast. So I'm not really concerned. I can tell you that as far as data centers go, we had a private investment in a data center site. So right now they don't have a hyperscaler in there. They're in negotiations with a few of them. If they don't get it, then I'll bring that news to you.
I know, but nobody ever partying in the bubble says there's the bubble. No one ever in the bubble raises their hand and says, you know what, the bubble's about to break. You never realize it's a bubble. Realize until after the fact.
To me,
look at this. I put this on my Facebook earlier. It says nobody partying in the bubble ever says it's a bubble. It's like me. That's from Bubble Boy where they're throwing him around at that party, right?
You invest. So I'm not investing in the next OpenAI at 1,000 times revenues because they just started in business and somebody gave them a $10 million research contract. That's not where we're investing. That is a bubble. A lot of those companies will go belly up, undoubtedly. And the valuations for an OpenAI will.
My thing is like if he's going to agree that the valuations are. Did he say that already?
Set lower. However, I don't think the technology's above.
Okay. It's not like, why would you say that, of course the valuations are extreme, but it's not a bubble. All right. It's the P ratio is a stretch. I say that as a shareholder in the semiconductor space, and I know I'm not a big fish or anything. Nobody's got to bust my chops about that, but I'm sure you will. But it's just that the valuations are a little stretched. I mean, I don't know. Maybe not for AMD too bad, but I don't know. Maybe they're not. They're not. Sometimes you catch yourself just talking. I mean, Nvidias are fine. So I mean, they make a good point. I don't know, man. I'm just over here got second thought. I thought I was gonna lean into that bubble a little bit more, but hey, man, we're gonna party while the party's going on, right? I'm selling stocks on the way through. First off, I haven't sold any of my AMD shares, and nor do I plan to sell any of these AMD shares. I got 23 shares there. I sold the 2 in the other account because I was thinking I was about to sell all my SoFi, and I didn't do it. I'll put it to you like this: if AMD's valuation, let me see here. I can get AMD's, if I can get that forward PE, if we can get that back down under 50 or at least close to 50, I'll purchase some shares. I mean, you see, I've got some buys in right here. I don't know where that gets the PE ratio. That just looks like a good level of support. Maybe I need to move them up to about 44. Move a couple of them up here. All right. And we'll move this one up here. Let me just go ahead and move them both up to there. But yeah, I mean, who knows if it's a bubble? I'm not gonna say I'm not gonna say that it is or it ain't. But it's just it's just like what people just talk about it because it's easy to talk about, and we like he said, you only know it's a bubble after the bubble pops. But if you start sensing that it might be a bubble, if you're looking pretty good on your positions, you should probably start to take some profit on something at least. And at least that's the luxury of owning different stocks. Is you can take those profits where you want to. If you don't want to sell certain stocks, you don't have to, right? So let's look over here at the rollover account or traditional account. We're going to look at some of the sales I've made. You see, I have been selling SoFi very lightly, 35 shares sold there. And ELF, which I thought this one might be a little controversial because I have, I have made some videos on ELF, but I sold 25 shares, nearly $3,000 worth of that stock, and I sold 4 shares over in the other account there, so nearly $3,500 in stock there sold, took profits. And I'll tell you why. I asked ChatGPT, what would be a high trailing 12-month P ratio for the company like ELF in its sector. And it basically told me that that fair value range for many stocks across all sectors tend to be between 10 and 20. And for the cosmetics would be 20. So I'm guessing like 20 to 30. Meanwhile, according to Webull, it was 67, but here's from some other sources. It was 63, 61, 62. So it's like about double the price to earnings ratio as you want to see. Now, if ELF comes in and just knocks out this next quarter earnings, they just reported earnings about a month ago. They got about 2 months before they will do their next one. And I just suspect you're going to see this thing work its way down, back down here around these moving averages. This is the daily. If I move it to the weekly, look, you've got another. That's the 200-day moving average on the weekly. I can see it getting it under 100. We get under 100, I'll probably purchase some more, okay? But they're going to have to come out and knock. And if they do, if they knock the earnings out the park, you're going to see this thing fly. But I just don't love this head and shoulders. There, if you've heard of a head and shoulders pattern, this one's actually got ears, right? Looks like something with some horns or something. But there's the shoulder, there's the head, there's the shoulder, right? And that was why I didn't purchase the shares whenever I was kind of started fixating on the stock, and I started buying these down here around 70, 60. I bought all those prices down here once everything fell off during that April scare, right? So we'll go over a couple more that I got rid of since my last update. I've sold some FUBU, sold 25 shares the other day. Soundhound, that was just a trade. That was actually last year, so that's not even pulling up there. That was good though. Been about 850 on that. Corsair, $413 in profits. Sold my last 55 shares back at the beginning of this month. Rocket Labs, man, let me show y'all something real quick. Probably one of the worst executions I've had since I started this back last September. And so, yeah, I'm about to come up on my anniversary, 1 year of investing, publicly at least, or recording it. That story's in another video. But yeah, there was that one. Lyft didn't make enough to really write home. I made a video on selling Whirlpool. That Jim Priest was just a trade. Honest. No, actually, this is the worst execution. Look at that. Up nearly $1,400 in profit and all the way down to 132. So imagine if I would have just took those profits, where would this be? This would be over 10 grand. I can tell you right now, because I would have stuffed that crap into SoFi or AMD, and we'd be up a lot further than we are now. And the other two would be Cake. I only got like 5 shares of Cake. Should have bought a ton more. Look at that. I don't even want to talk about it. And then Bloomin', nothing to talk about. The rest of this is just trades I was doing before I really just started focusing on the swing trading. Just screwing around, really. But there it is. That is my update video, and I do appreciate you guys for coming and checking out my portfolio, and I hope I earned your like. And additionally, if you want to subscribe, feel free to do so, and I hope to see you in the next one. All right, peace out.